My favourite short story, I guess, has to be Kirigami, because it was written about my father's death and the death of my best friend. Even though it's not directly connected to those two events, it was about the grieving process. It's about how, however desperate you feel when you lose a loved one, there is always the thing that saves you. There's the moment when you realise that life goes on, and it was about that. And it seems to have been a story that people connect with. It came out very easily. It took me about half an hour to write, but it was the thinking time again with that story. I'd been thinking about how to express my grief for about 18 months because the incidents happened way before I wrote the story, and it was very therapeutic for me to write that story because it was about almost like the culmination of feelings and being able to look back at them and sort them out, and the idea that something wonderful in your life, another family member, can make real grief acceptable to you, and almost something to do with hope. It was about hope, that you lose somebody and they kind of underline the idea of hope to you. Nina stares at the blank paper. It stretches for acres, out of the laundry room to the snow-covered yard, the lawn and allotments beyond. She sits on a sun-bleached deck chair by the glazed back door, while her daughter Eleanor stands next to her, longing for a reassuring touch. Mum, did you know no two snowflakes are exactly alike? What? Nina is barely listening. She folds the paper into eighths to make a narrow triangle. Should I write that? Yes, Eleanor, you could. With scissors from her sewing box, Nina cuts. Squat triangles, battlements, rectangles. Her hand is steady. It is New Year's Day, and he isn't coming back. There. She unfolds the paper snowflake, lifts it to catch the light from the garden. Can I do one? Yes. Nina gets up, pegs the flake on the empty line stretching across the whitewashed laundry room. She doesn't want mess in the house. There are so many visitors with their sympathy. I'll glue mine into the project, if you like. I'm going to show my teacher after I tell her about Dad. Eleanor is so matter-of-fact it stings. He's not coming back, you know. I know. Never. I know, Eleanor says again, her voice loaded with inarticulate grief. Nina sees the pain on her bewildered daughter's face. She is satisfied. As she opens the door for air, the cold from the garden joins her numbness, and the suspended snowflake flaps in the slow breeze. 6 white snowflakes dangle by the salty black garments she and Eleanor had worn that afternoon. She needn't have washed them, but she couldn't get the smell of the service out any other way. Sitting on a deck chair, she begins to fold, feeling nothing but the sharp paper against her fingertips. It looks like the points of ice that hang above the back door. The guttering is broken there. Who will mend it? Snow is thick on the grass. Layer upon layer renders the garden silent. It doesn't matter. Everything is muffled now anyway. She cuts, the flash of silver the only noise in the white. Eleanor appears, 4 white envelopes spread like a deck of cards in her hand. The post, Mum. Are they for me? No. Put them in the kitchen. But they might be important. Nina isn't listening. She's cutting, more intricate now. Half hearts, semicircles, rectangles, that when whole will form squares. The cut-away paper falls to the floor, just as the snow fell last night. She won't clear it. It can stay there with the rest, some still clean, some shoe-stained like confetti on a pavement. She opens the flake carefully, the holes held by slim bridges of paper. Nina stands, pegs it next to the black silk blouse that drips dye on the red tiles. The scissors flash in the grey of the washhouse, despite her frozen fingers. It's invariably cold, even in summer. Nina doesn't know how to put oil in the radiator. He normally did that. She pulls his grey cardigan around her. It still smells of him, his aftershave, his sweat. Why hadn't he looked where he was going? He never did. He'd knock things over in the house, leave them on the floor for her to clear up. "I'm not your servant," she'd bark as she picked them up. "Sorry, love." His face would hang. He'd look older than his years. She thought they'd grow old together, bickering but still loving each other. It wouldn't happen now. He should have looked where he was going. He never did. She unfolds the snowflake with its sharp, harsh cuts, gashes, not pretty diamonds or quaint squares. She looks through it to the garden, grey banks of slush set hard around the empty flower beds. There is frost on the privet. Eleanor is out there, collecting the last snow to put in the freezer, for snowballs in summer. Silly. Nina pegs the lacy circle onto the line. 14. Good. Yesterday there were 13, an unlucky number. A tear falls on the blades, slides onto the paper, makes a stain, like the butter stain on his shirt, from the toast she had made him. "Wipe it off." She'd pointed at the yellow blob on his chest, near his heart, the heart that stopped. "People'll think I don't do the washing." "You don't," he laughed. "I spend hours in that wash house." It was a lie. He'd done his own for years, did Eleanor's and hers most of the time too. She'd never thanked him for that. She couldn't remember thanking him for anything. The scissors cut slowly. She's half asleep, blinded by tears. She doesn't know when the tears will stop or what she'll do then. Eleanor's face is at the kitchen door, smiling. Weak as it is, it helps. "Can I watch TV?" she mouths. Nina nods, pulls the edges of the paper, opens it up. It's a pretty one. She pegs the paper flake next to the previous day's. It is luminous in the dank air. Outside it's about to rain. The line is 3/4 full. The only washing on there, a pair of Eleanor's jeans. Nina can't remember putting on her blouse, but it was a long time ago. It smells of grief, but it looks okay. Why wash it? She counts the snowflakes. 21. She doesn't know if she'll make it to the end of the month. The whole month gone, and she can't remember a single day. The only way she knows she's lived it, is the snowstorm of paper flakes hanging from the washing line. 30 of them. She folds the paper, notices her jagged nails and chipped pink varnish as she runs her thumb and forefinger along the creases. She begins to cut half moons, points of stars and the sun close together. Nina wants to say everything about day and night and time and loss. It is dry in the garden, grey and dry. The snow has melted and the weather isn't strong enough for either frost or sunshine. It's dull, resting weather, but she can see the purple head of a crocus pushing through the soil by the fence. The laundry room floor is covered in flecks of paper, banked up against the chair legs like snowdrifts. There's a mound of dirty washing in the basket, a pile of ironing on the board. She'll sweep the floor today, put the washing in the machine, do the ironing. But first she'll hang the snowflake. They make a garland across the wash house, beautiful, white, cold. They don't melt, not like real snow. Tomorrow she'll take them down, put them in the box on the wardrobe, keep them. She cuts the last star from the paper, looks up. Eleanor's face is looking through a smudged pane in the kitchen door. She's wearing a pink jumper, a green stripe through its middle. They look at each other for a few seconds, and the snowflakes flutter on the washing line, unable to rest. Eleanor smiles. Nina smiles back.